For a long time now, I've sat back and I've listened to the left and the right argue the toss over who is right and who is wrong. And in truth, there are many on the left that are right and many on the right that are right too. I watched a video today which was led by Patrick Moore. And I've had to make notes purely because I'm not a political brainstormer. Never have been, never will be. But he's talked about a sovereignty state, which was created in Brussels in 1972. But it actually goes back as far as the 1920s, where they talked about common market and trading being arranged. And it was all lies. They want a federal state governed by Brussels, taking away the right to be self-governed, which is what we have seen happen. We've seen our right to be self-governed stripped away. The European project goes back to the 1920s. They want a united state of Europe, assembled without revealing the truth. This is basically historical deception. All the wishes of the people ignored. We are freeborn, and we stand here today with the possibility and risk of losing the right to be freeborn. We're governed by the rules of our country, but for how much longer? Because what was started back in the 1920s and back in the 1970s, it's snowballing, and the only way to avoid it is to exit the EU. There is no divine right of a politician, but yet they are taking things as their divine right. The EU will be allowed if they are unchallenged. And we will no longer be able to govern ourselves. This, to me, is nothing more than treason. And for the first time, as you can see, I genuinely did make notes. For the first time, I sat and I watched something with my mouth firmly wide open, in absolute astonishment, that while we all sit and bicker over whether the left is right or the right is right, our politicians, our so-called leaders of a country, of a once great nation, is selling its people out. We're being controlled by political correctness, the fear to say that we are one way or another in our opinions, that our opinions shouldn't be heard, and that actually silence is the best way forward, and it's not. In fact, if you look at the book or read the book 1984, we're living in 1984. We are being dictated to outside of our own country. What Nigel Farage said about being able to trade outside of the places where we can trade right now is right. This country no longer makes anything, but our politicians make money. When you look into the history of this, and it goes back as far as Ted Heath, and there's names popping up in there, Tony Blair, John Major, these people sold the people of this country out. We can't now, the laws of the UK no longer stand for anything, because every law we have is bypassed via the European Court of Law. Since when did we, the people, sign over the right to be governed by Brussels? I remember my mum when I was a very young girl. I remember my mum constantly going on at my dad about, we don't make the laws in this country, Brussels make the law in this country. And I can remember growing up and thinking, I don't really know what she's on about. But do you know what? I watched that today and realised my mother saw what was coming from a very, very, very long time ago. She's 70 years old now, and she remembers it. She knew it was happening. And we as people need to stop bickering over left and right. We can't ignore that there is a reason for this mass influx of immigration into this country. It's to rule out the red, white and blue. No longer will England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales exist. They'll just be constituencies within the EU. That's it. We have a chance, and that's to exit the EU. This is the first time I've watched something that's hit me to such a degree that the thought, the fear of losing this country in such an inhumane way, without our right or say-so, without our permission, and without our vote. We did not vote for the EU to control this country. We have laws in our country. Give us back our right to use our laws. And the only way to do that is for people to stop backbiting about left and right. I talk to people who are left, and they're nice people. I don't have a problem with somebody because they have a mindset that's slightly to the left. But political correctness has a stranglehold on this country, and we stupidly are so busy arguing about that we're not seeing the bigger picture. Now, that doesn't change that I will stand up against radical Islam. It doesn't change that I will stand up against Sharia law. It doesn't change that I will stand for the right of every single woman in this country. And it will not change the fact that I firmly believe that everything our suffragettes fought for, even more so, this is a bigger insult to them. They fought for the right to vote, which now our government want to sell out from underneath us without our permission. So do I think it's time that you all stopped whining and bickering and putting stupid images of bacon to offend people, which actually achieves nothing? If you want to achieve something, then achieve it by getting behind and promoting the right to exit the EU, to take back what constitutionally is ours. I have nothing else left to say tonight. I'm not going to sit here and read things and harp on. It's pointless. The video is on my YouTube. It's on my Facebook. Go and watch it. Take 30, 40 minutes of your time and watch it. Educate yourselves. Me, I will watch this 20 times over in order to try and understand it. Are you prepared to do the same? I'm prepared to stand up and say, I want my country back. And that has nothing to do with whether or not your skin colour matches mine, and everything to do with the fact that this country was once the greatest nation known to man. And I want it back. Let's exit the EU.